just once. I think that was my mistake. I shoveled once. I shoveled like this much.
Oh, yeah.
And it was not. I should have shoveled twice.
Well, it's heavy snow and you can tell
It is.
because it comes like straight down.
Yeah,
Well,
the
when you launch
sledding
it, and then it
hills were full of
compacts on
kids
farther
and-
width in their driveway, and then you end up shoveling the edges because it's too heavy
Yeah.
to blow.
You're welcome.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's stuff.
Yes, it's the
Well, several
ultimate
years ago,
goal.
my son-in-law,
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it, but,
grandson-in-law.
and she's 19.
I remember that. You were in a council meeting when it
I
happened.
was. Well, but what I thought was that he cut his hand off.
Oh,
She was barely turned 20.
not good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Providence City Council meeting of Wednesday, February 18th. We have with us Scott Campbell and Brent Speth, Janelle Seeley, Carrie Kirk, and David Coons. And I'm Mayor Kathleen Alder. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance now by Brent Speth. If you'll all please stand.
Please repeat after me.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm just trying to keep track of her. And Janelle Seeley will give our opening prayer unless there's someone in the audience that would like to give it. Thank you.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful that we could gather as a community, and we're grateful for the snow that we've received and for the water that it brings to our community. We're grateful for the staff and their hard work to keep us safe, and pray that they'll help them all get a good night's rest in preparation for possibly more snow. We're grateful for the opportunity to gather as a council to discuss the needs of the community and to address the matters before us this night. Pray that they'll help us to strengthen our friendships and with our friends and our neighbors and our community, that we can reach out and help each other. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. I remember praying for snow in the mountains and rain down here.
I remember that too, actually.
But not how it worked out, but we'll take the snow because we need it.
It's really beautiful.
It really is pretty. All the trees are covered and yeah. Okay, so the first item is council reports. So Scott, we'll start on your end.
Okay, let's go. I've been digging into a lot of things, trying to understand the general plan better, as well as read code, trying to understand that better. In addition to that, I've met with some people and had some phone conversations with people, trying to figure out what we can do in a few different areas. One is the Utah Well-Being Project survey. We've done that in the past. It's getting to be that time again. And so I've been working with them to get a little bit better understanding of what that all entails. They've sent me some good information as well, and Janelle did too. And so trying to get that figured out, and so that we can hopefully participate again. I would like to do that. I met with Nathan Larson from Nibley. We discussed the special service district that they were talking about maybe creating for a rec center. Just trying to get information because I've been getting people talking to me about that, and I got another that forwarded an email today on it. So he and I were talking. He sent me some information just so I have a better idea what they're trying to do, and to see if it's something that I can bring to the council and see if it's something the council wants to do more with. In addition to that, the America 250 celebration. I have talked with the county. I've got some other people I have some other people I would like to speak with that are heavily involved. Smithfield's trying to do a lot of things. Brigham City's really trying to do a lot of things regarding this celebration. We applied with the mayor's help and other people's help. We applied for, I'm not sure
A
what they call it,
grant.
a grant.
It's a grant.
It's a grant for a little bit of funding to help us with some sort of America 250 celebration. And so that's about it.
Great, thank you. Oh, you went to that hospital thing?
That's tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
It's
Okay,
Thursday morning.
thank you.
Okay, next. Well, our emergency management meeting, I had a appointment in Salt Lake with my wife for a procedure, but we were able to listen to it on the way home. Ryan attended it. I didn't get anything too alarming out of it other than the NIMS 402 training for elected officials and leaders has still not received a scheduled date. And also, there is one thing, anybody who's interested in becoming a storm spotter, there is storm spotter training March the 17th at 6 p.m. at the Cache County Sheriff's Office, room 2. That's 1225 West, 200 North. So anybody who would like to get involved and become a storm spotter, we were kind of thinking, we'd like to have some storm spotted, but this one came and here it is, and it's a good one. So anyway, on the fire district, I've been trying to get myself on the roster for receiving emails regarding their meetings and stuff like that. I will meet or talk to Nate Thompson tomorrow. He's been out of town, and get my name on that roster for that meeting. Also, I met with the Blacksmith Fork Irrigation Company in their meeting here in the City Hall, and they discussed the things that they were planning, their budget, and what they're planning on doing for the next year. And I think they're doing a very good job of trying to keep their canals repaired and cleaned so that what water we do have, they can get it into the town and it'll be useful for the citizens. And I'd just like to make this comment. The worry is not how much water we have, it's how we manage that water that we do get. And I think that's an important thing, because letting water run to waste, not utilizing it, is always an important issue. So it's how we manage what water we do get this year. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I attended a municipal fiber meeting with cities up and down the Wasatch Front. There's not a lot of legislation that's going on in the broadband area this session, which is kind of nice. But there is one bill, I think it's 485, House Bill 485. It's just a reinvention of one that they've tried to pass for like 3 years and it's failed. So we'll see where it goes this year. The library board, county executive George Daines, made new appointments to the library board, so we'll talk about that a little bit later on our agenda. And I've just been following the Legislative Policy Committee through the legislative session. The legislature, as of Tuesday, had drafted 950 bills, so they're hard at work, busy. But I was encouraged. I feel like the league is doing a good job trying to bring stakeholders together and put things together that overlap. So, for instance, they just got 4 bills consolidated into one because all of these representatives and senators were working on very similar things that canceled each other out. So obviously it's more efficient to coordinate. I do feel like a couple of things. One, I just want to appreciate our public works. It's been a busy day for snow for them, so I appreciate, I don't know how many times they drove past my house, a lot of times. And it just kept on coming. And Senator Chris Wilson, I've been pretty pleased with him. Every time I've reached out to him this session, he's responded promptly. And we've had good dialogue on different bills, so I've appreciated that. And I met with residents talking about the library, parking concerns, and some questions over on the rezone that's on the agenda tonight. So that's what.
Great, thank you. Gary?
Yeah, so Janelle did this too, but each of us participated in the government panel at the high school. I took the first couple periods and she took the last couple periods so that there would be a representative from Providence at each of those panels. And it's just nice to speak with the students, and they have smart questions, and it's good to help them understand the significance that local government plays in their lives. So I'm glad that they do that at Ridgeline and was happy to participate this year. I also took 18 youth to Salt Lake City to watch the legislative session in progress, and I was grateful to the mayor for helping to arrange that. And then Jason Thompson is always so gracious with his time, and Casey also stopped by to say hi. But you know, Jason, the kids ask the smartest questions. It's just really impressive to see them at the Capitol and learning about government. I've also just been responding to residents, and I think that the hot topics are the library and the possible future rec center. And so helping people to understand, to the best of my knowledge, what's going on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a long day of snow removal for me, so I snuck in at the last minute, as you saw, and I feel out of breath still,
Yeah.
and sucking in exhaust fumes all day. So sorry if I'm like, anyways, but it is beautiful after it's cleaned up, in my opinion. So, yeah, for me, the mosquitoes are dead, so that's still good. Nothing to report there. We're having some meetings about when to schedule our budgeting and some financing stuff with mosquito abatement, but nothing there to report really. I received some emails and talked to residents too about the library. Also the potential rec center email that came today. What else? Been following some bills. There's several relating to property tax. Maybe they can combine those two, because there's
Would be helpful,
like
right?
there's a handful. If we could get a consolidated 4 for 1 or something, there would be a fourth the number of bills passed every every year. I think so. You said 950
900.
or something. 950. And last I saw, there was, it's been a couple days, but 66 or something had passed at the time. Do you have anyone
sounds
have any
about right.
updated numbers? That's kind of the last I saw, but
Well, those are 900 bills filed,
filed and
but they won't make it to committee and they won't make it
yeah.
out on
Yeah.
the floor, but there's still a significant number that go to the floor.
But yeah, but last year we had 700-ish or
Almost 500.
oh, it's 500. So yeah, so we're still gonna have still gonna have hundreds. So it doesn't cease to amaze me that just the amount of bills, and some of them feel like they can do harm for us, and some will be good. And Ryan brought up that I met with Ryan and we talked about, is it 501 or 510? I can't remember the number of that water bill. That
501.
501, yeah, that would potentially cost a lot, and that's something to watch for sure. But that's about it for me, I think.
They've made some substitutions and changes on it, but I think it's still one that we're in danger of having to end up paying. So thank you for your reports. Of course, I've been involved in meetings, meetings and more meetings. There was a MAG meeting, which is part of the CMPO, and the JPAC, which is UDOT meeting at the legislature. There's the LPC, Utah League of Cities and Towns, that I've tried to attend in person. And We've got library things going on, talking with citizens, talking with mayors and leaders. And I've been appointed along with the mayor of River Heights, Blake Wright, the mayor of Millville, Dave Hare, and we've requested that Nibley be placed on that committee so that we can decide what we're doing with the library and how we'll handle that. Was it last month or the month before? Maybe it was January, I guess. We appointed Scott Tyre to the Connect board, and he's had some health issues and asked to be released from that. So we have talked with Paul Mortensen to be on the Connect board. So we'll start that process. So in March, we will bring Paul Mortensen in, and you'll have an opportunity to talk with him after you've seen his resume. He is a retired airline pilot and is kind of excited to serve on that committee. So we'll be bringing him forward. The youth council were awesome. I can't believe how technical and insightful their questions were as they asked the legislators questions about bills that were coming forward and how they were handling them. So it was really a great day. So we're all busy. We're all trying to get things done for the city and make the best decisions possible. So we appreciate citizens who get involved and are willing to give us their opinion of what they think about what we're doing. So thank you. Item number 1 is the approval of the minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from January 21st, 2026.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second. Second.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We don't have any reports, no public hearings. Item number 2 is design standards. Ryan, do you want to take that and talk about it?
Well, I certainly do. So this is a project that we've been working on for a while. It went through the budgeting process, so it was a budgeted process. And what we've done is we have compared our current standard with the Utah American Public Works Association standard and specifications. With help with our engineer and our public works department, went through and compared the different standards. And what this is and what we're proposing for the council to adopt tonight is to adopt the we call APWA. It's American Public Works Association. We're proposing to adopt their standards as our new standard with a few small modifications and changes. And so on the agenda, you'll see that there is links to both of the standards and the specs and the plans. So you'll see those. I have manual copies, so you can kind of visualize what these are. So there are links to both of those documents on the agenda. What this does is it helps us to, one, keep current with new and upcoming standards. It helps us to be consistent with other cities. One of the links here is the other cities that has adopted this in the state of Utah. There are about 50 cities. Nibley and Logan here in the valley have adopted it, and so it's kind of a best practice. So we're moving towards that direction. That's what we'd like to move towards. It does remove some of the exceptions of things and some of the things we have maybe not kept up on. One of the examples I gave, I give again to the public and to the council, knowing that you probably already listened to it with the Planning Commission, but that is the road-based standard. I come from a background of paving before getting into city management, and in that, it's been about 12, maybe 15 to 17 years ago. The standard was 3/4 inch road base. And that's what everybody used. That's what UDOT used. That's what everybody was using. And then UDOT came out and they have their own standards, much more strict and requiring much more depth on their standards. But they came out and changed the standard to 1.25 inch road base. And with that, what has happened over time is people stopped producing 3/4 inch road base because the new standard was 1.25 inch. And so as people move to that and companies and producers of sand and gravel move to that, some and ours particularly didn't necessarily change the standard. And so at that point it becomes difficult. We have to make exceptions. It doesn't keep up with the current market and that's why we peg to a national standard, Utah specific, but a national standard. Because then as those things change and as the industry changes, we don't have to continually redo the standard specifications. But we do have in this one, so within the ordinance, I'll open that. We do have a few specialties. We aren't exactly like every other city, nor do we want to be, but we have some specific things we've done. So this would be our own manual. So we would have the standard plans, the standard specifications, and then we would have a third manual that is basically some of our standards here, some of the things that are specific for us and how we do things, whether that is through ordinances that have been passed or through some things to maybe be consistent, like for instance, fire hydrants. We like to have one brand because that's what we keep supplies to. That's what we have an inventory to replace. So we want to have all new ones be to that same design and standard. The national standard or the Utah chapter of the national standard would allow maybe multiple, maybe a half a dozen different fire hydrants, but we want a specific one so that we can maintain and do that. So those are some of the things that we would maybe be specific on. And then we have our own drawings. So as we come down, we have certain ways that we want to accomplish. I'll come back to the red line on this here. I'll come back to that in just a second. But we want to be able to have a partial road cross section. That's not perceived in the national standard, but we find that that's helpful for our development. We have clear view issues in our city that we've passed certain rules or the council, you've passed certain rules that we want to have a certain type of clear view. And so we've taken and have a drawing specifically addressing that in the design standard. And we have, how long the maximum length of a cul-de-sac can be. So we've added that. We've added a little flare on this one to indicate on the outside of the curbs how that ties in. And so we've had some specific things, and there's not many. The whole document here, including the ordinance, is 25 pages. These are hundreds of pages. And so we keep these ones. If there is something that changes in the national standard that we disagree with, this also establishes that a modification may be considered through the Administrative Land Use Authority, which is our Public Works Director, Community Development Director, and City Engineer. So if there is a modification to a standard that's needed, it could go to that committee for consideration. So anyway, any questions on the standards or the general modification before I go to the one last red red lines that I'm going to talk about specifically. Any of those? Okay. Just making sure I give them to, okay. So then what we've done is we've come in and looked at, all right, we have had comments, questions, discussions about parking, bike lanes, about the width of our street. The width of our street, the asphalt in here in B, if you can all see that, is that clear? Is that big enough that you can kind of spot that? So at that point, 30 feet doesn't give us room for more than just the 2 lanes of traffic. It doesn't put enough room for bike lanes. It doesn't put enough room for parking on either side. And so 30 feet is a really more maybe of a political number rather than determining what do we want in a street and how can we accomplish that. The state allows us to require up to 32 feet. So the 32 feet is the state's maximum that we can require a local road developer to do. What this does, and we've added kind of comments here, what this does is because it's a slower traffic, normally our lanes are 12-foot wide. Because it's slower traffic, these would be 11-foot wide lanes with parking on one side. Could be either side, but parking on one side. That would allow us, as these roads get built, that there is parking in some of these. So as things happen, we would be able to accommodate that. The minor collector moves from a 37 to a 40. That's again a lower speed road, and so it would be 2 11-foot lanes, bike lanes, and then parking on one side. So it would allow that. Without the 40 feet, we have a limitation of what we can do because we just can't fit that within inside of 37 feet of asphalt. Also, the asphalt is built with equipment that doesn't require, I mean, that 30 feet, you just had to shrink your equipment down to narrow it down what you're doing. So it doesn't require more labor time. It does require some more rock and a little bit more oil, but the cost isn't really significantly different between those other than some oil and some rocks. But equipment, those are more designed for the size that roads are generally built by. And then major collector. Major collector is generally built for a faster speed. Now, we don't necessarily have that, and we have most of our roads at 25 unless posted otherwise. But because a major collector is designed for more traffic and more speed, we need a 12-foot lane. To accommodate that, we can narrow the turn lane down to 10 feet, but at that point, a major collector would then be 12-foot lanes, 10-foot turn lane, bike lanes, and parking on both sides. So that's kind of what we would see on major collector. And then the minor arterial would then again, be the 11th foot of each lane, and it would have bike lanes. But because of the minor arterial's status, you wouldn't have parking on minor arterial roads. That would be like having parking on Highway 165. You don't have parking on the side of those streets. That's just, at that point in those kind of roads, you don't generally have that. So anyway, it gives us what it is. We did have to, shrink up the park strip by a foot in order to fit that within the given right-of-way need. But that is a bit of a change. And so we are asking and pulling that out specifically because that's a fairly specific change that isn't just a standard. It's it's a development change. And so we took this to the Planning Commission last week. We had a public hearing, and they unanimously recommended for your approval on adopting these standards and making these changes. So any questions?
So when I add up all the numbers of the curb and gutter park strip, the flex is taken up in the park strip, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct. So a local road, these are minimums. So you'll see on the top, that's a minimum widths. But yes, generally now they don't have to. You could build a little bit more in your curb. Sometimes you have a little larger. You could have a 36-inch curb. So if you wanted to kick the toe of the curb out farther, you could do that. I've seen some developments do that. So they'll do a 3-foot curb and gutter. But generally we see it taken up in the park strip. But they do have flexibility.
Well, before the council starts to discuss it, I'd make a motion that we approve. And we can discuss after it's had a second. So
Okay,
I'd make a motion that we approve ordinance 02-2026, an ordinance amending Providence City Code by the adoption of the Utah American Public Works Association National Standard with the city-specific modifications as Providence City's new design standard and specifications.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion, questions?
I'll just honestly admit that the technicalities of this like go way over my head, but I trust that number one, I trust staff, but I also trust that if there's a statewide standard, that the big picture makes sense. The technicalities, I'm like, whoa, that's a lot.
Okay,
And you can imagine being a developer coming in and trying to figure out every different standard as you go into every new city. It
Yeah.
can be daunting at their level too. And they work in those kind of building spots, but it's a lot of work to go from one city to the next to redo each individual city's standards.
it's also less work for our staff because there's one standard and you're not having to check and make sure that it's not different and that it follows the standard. So,
Yeah. Hopefully our review will go and we'll be able to review that as more. We took this and tried to work with the other cities in the valley to try to do it jointly together. It was a really slow process and it takes a lot of time. So we said, we want to move forward. We'll show you our example. Logan's done the example. Nibley's done the example. We're third in the valley to do it. We figured more and more of the cities in the valley will go to this. It really will make a progress. So we're excited for it.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Great. Thank you very much. On this particular item?
Just public comment, no.
And we have that at the end of the agenda.
Oh, sorry, thanks.
But that's okay. Thank you. Let's go on to item number 3. This is ordinance 03-2026, Lot 7, Providence City Center, subdivision rezone. I am going to step away because I have a vested interest in this particular item. And so Carrie is our mayor pro tem, so I will step away.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have 2 of the applicants on virtually. They were in Salt Lake and didn't come up through so I was going to promote them to panelists. So
Great. Yeah. Let's hear from you or Scarlett first and then from them.
all right.
The 2 commercial zones that are being considered tonight, the current one is Commercial Highway District, and the requested one is Commercial General District. Commercial Highway District, and these 2 zones are almost identical, except for one thing, and that's one promotes all types of business, and one promotes sales tax generating businesses. One thing that we heard many, many years ago when I was new to Providence and Brent was here to be a great mentor. We heard a lot about our highway and how important the highway was to get sales tax producing businesses. Whenever we tried to talk to people about going to other places, they would bring us studies that said that they were too far away. We had a lot of interest from the medical community at that time wanting to come in along our highway, because even though you don't just drive by and say, oh, I think I'll go to the doctor today, having a doctor that's easy access is important. We felt like we could see that coming, and so we actually worked with the people that were affiliated with AmSource and crafted this commercial highway zone. Now, in the commercial highway zone, depending if it's an interior non-sales tax producing business or a detached standalone, there's some different percentage requirements. One thing we realized also was that having a bank in the area where there was a lot of retail, maybe having this office building or something where there's a lot of retail, also help that retail flourish. Being able to go to the ATM at the bank or something is pretty handy. And so we realized that there needed to be some non-sales tax. So if it's inside the building, like America First Credit Union that is inside of Macy's, that can take up no more than, I believe it's 12% of the square footage of the building. If it's outside, then it can take up no more than 15%. So if it's a detached building, like USU Credit Union, that's on the corner of First South and Highway 165, if it's a detached building like that, then you add up all of the square footage of the buildings together, and it can take up no more than 15%. Well, all of the non-sales tax producing businesses together can take up no more than 15% of the total sales tax producing businesses. So that's how those two interact. And on the use chart, you'll see those businesses listed as I for incidental, which is an incidental use that's inside the building, like America First Credit Union inside of Macy's, or a C, which is conditional, which is like the exterior detached USU Credit Union. So that's how that commercial highway district zone functions. In a commercial general district, you can have those same businesses. You can have sales tax producing businesses, you can have medical businesses, you can have doctor's offices, you can have credit unions and banks, you can have the gamut pretty much of businesses, and you don't have to worry about percentages. So you could have a whole building full of medical people, and you wouldn't have to have any sales tax produced in it at all if you were in a commercial general district. So the applicants, and I'll let them make their sales pitch, but they've looked at the area and they actually do have enough, with Chick-fil-A coming, that added square footage to their retail square footage. So they actually do have enough square footage to do something on a smaller scale under the commercial general, under the commercial highway, which would be non-sales tax producing, but it's not really of a scale that would attract the type of businesses that they would want to. So they're looking at wanting to modify the zone, change the zone. One of the things that they discussed in Planning Commission, their original application asked for the parcel, which, Ryan, can you pull a picture of the parcel up? And the parcel goes all the way from the west side of the next meter property to the highway, 165. The part that is down by Chick-fil-A and to the west, That has been set aside for wetlands. So during the planning commission meeting, one of the conditions that the planning commission added to the staff report is that they would provide us with a legal description for just that eastern square. As you can see, it right there where Ryan's drawing. So tonight, and they can correct me if they've changed their minds, but what came through the planning commission is that they would only be rezoning that eastern square. So the part that is wetlands would remain in the commercial highway district and act as landscaping and whatnot for in that district. So any questions? Because that's really what the differences are.
Maybe I'm new enough, maybe I just don't know, but it seems irrelevant, the wetlands portion, because it's not gonna be built on anyway, and it will never be tax generating property, sales tax generating.
Probably.
So that's my understanding of things. So that was,
Not always.
Not always. It can be mitigated.
okay.
Correct.
Okay,
Can it also be mitigated off-site?
maybe.
If somebody felt like they wanted to mitigate more, they could mitigate more off-site. In fact, it was a much larger well, I don't know if I should say much, but it was definitely a larger wetland area when AmSource first started the process just to get the Macy's grocery store here. And they did quite a bit of mitigating off-site as it was, and some improvement to the area on-site. But the future is a long time,
Yeah, good
and
point.
laws tend to change. And so it might stay pristine wetland, but there's really no guarantee.
Right. Just like there's no guarantee that when they put in their, whatever they said, 30,000 building, that there's going to be any tax generation from that either.
No, and when you change the zone, that you acknowledge that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's highly likely that there could be, because there will be some interest. One of the things that we don't like to talk about design that hasn't gone through the staff to be actually considered for the site. Once we get the zone, then we can look at their site plans, because then we know what zone we're looking at. But they are designing so that you can't see it with this picture. Is there another picture, Ryan, that you can see the next meter building? Oh, right there.
Or zoom out.
Okay. So
Keep a microphone. It's really hard to follow if you're online.
Change the battery, just
thank you. So right through here. Oh, my coat's over. Good thing it has a sealable lid. Right through here, there's a road. And our intent was that you would be able to access Gateway Drive, 485 West in this picture, and get all the way down through here to get all the way to the highway, so that businesses in this area could be accessed from both Gateway Drive, because as you know, it's starting to generate quite a bit of traffic, and Highway 165. This is a private road, but they do recognize that that road has to be kept open and go through for the good of the whole complex and area. The design of this building, however it's put, there will be parking lot one way or the other, but the road won't go straight through. It never was going to go straight. It was kind of thought maybe it would come down and go over or something, depending on the structures that go there. But it will be parking lot. So it'll be kind of like our parking lot out here, that you could come over by the post office, go on that little road, come between Master Mechanic and the post office and into here to get to us. And then you could leave out on Gateway Drive if you wanted to. So it'd be something similar to that, where you would go through parking, but it wouldn't be a mystery as how you would get around it. And they do know that they need to design their new building to allow for that traffic flow.
So Scarlett, if that goes into a parking lot, Logan City's often had problems because it's one as accessed from one parking lot to another because a new owner comes along and he doesn't like it. How's that going to be restricted that we can still pass through that parking lot for those people that would like to?
We'll have to make sure that there's cross easements. And our ordinance actually calls out that in the commercial areas, there's cross easements through the parking lots, but we will make sure that that's part of it.
Okay, thank you.
And they actually have a road in that development now that kind of serves that way. It's private, but it's the one that goes all the way from 100 South to 100 North down on the west side of Tractor Supply.
Right, right.
So
So I want to understand in the development of Alder Square, the whole block was set with percentages of what could be incidental, what could be tax generating.
not that
Because the argument that Chick-fil-A brings in tax revenue, and so that adjusts their percentage of tax requirement. I mean, is that basically what they're trying to say?
they're saying that they feel, well, I don't want to put words in their mouth. I'll let them say what they want to say. But the part where Next Meters is and where the townhomes are, that's zoned mixed use. So it was originally part of all of that parcel, but it's zoned mixed use. That parcel, in fact, that's why it says that they're amending can't remember which lot, of the Providence City Center subdivision. And the reason why is because the east end of that parcel, when it was all one parcel, was zoned mixed use. And the west portion from where this is now, the current zoning, was zoned commercial highway. So the precedent to have a different zone right next, that's already been established.
I see. And then I had questions about the trail. On the trails plan, it's a continuation of the trail from Zollinger Park. We have that crosswalk with the flashing lights,
Pedestrian activated crossing.
pedestrian activated light. So is there a dedicated path through there? Because I don't want the parking lot to become the path. I want there to be dedicated pedestrian walkways, and can we stipulate that they have to continue a walking path from Dollar Tree clear through to Tractor Supply? Because that road that's west between the car wash and Tractor Supply doesn't have any dedicated pedestrian path. So, and I don't know if we can require them to add a pedestrian path.
Well, part of the commercial site plan does
Addition of the
require,
rezone.
part of the commercial site plan does require that we look at pedestrian pathways for pedestrians. So it will probably be sidewalk. It probably wouldn't be like a path. It would probably be a sidewalk, and
Like
it may
an
go
8-foot
around.
sidewalk. I mean, I think that's what the trails plan says, 5 to 8 feet wide. Yeah.
At least a 5-foot sidewalk. We require that as our minimum sidewalk.
Right. Okay.
But we want, I mean, in the trails plan, we're wanting to get them to Macy's and into the shopping center through that. That's part of where the destination
Sure.
that we're connecting is. So we want them to we want to be able to go from the park into Macy's or wherever this is at. So
So
we do want
that's
that.
automatically built into development agreements, though, because it's on the trails plan, right?
Should be.
Okay.
Quick question too. With that wetlands designation, is it anticipated then to still remain one parcel, or is the intent does that get split off in any way at some point?
you may, some of these questions might be answered by the applicant.
Sure. Okay.
I'd give the chair, I might give the applicant a chance, and then you can take those both sides of that and be able to, maybe they'll answer some of your questions. I think Planning Commission asked some more or kind of that leading that direction. So I think, Kevin, is that you that is going to talk for that?
It is, Ryan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let the chair make the decision of
Yeah.
whether she can talk.
Please go ahead, and if you'll share information that's relevant that Scarlett hasn't already shared, that would be
Okay.
great.
Thank you. So I'm Kevin Hawkins. I'm with AmSource. I was the lead developer on creating this project with Macy's. And we did have a wetland designation. We went through the Army Corps delineation. We did mitigation and got it to where it is. The Planning Commission raised some of the questions you're raising, and well, you know, maybe you could mitigate again. It's a very irregular piece from the rectangular part up to 165. So it's, even if it wasn't wetland, it'd be very hard to develop something in there. But we agree that we want to create two lots out of this. One will be the wetlands, one will be the rectangle that Scarlett put up and Ryan put up. So our engineer is in the middle of doing the legal description right now. And when we come through with our site plan, we'll take care of all that. We also agree about the connectivity, both vehicular from Gateway up to 165. What you don't want to do, and I think somebody already alluded to it, you don't want it to be a straight road all the way through, because people use it as a shortcut and they kind of speed through your parking lots, and it's dangerous. But we will have vehicular connectivity, so you can go all the way from Gateway anywhere in our project and also find your way up to 165. We do have planned on the western side of the 30,000 foot building, we're going to build a 5-foot sidewalk that would go north and south, and it would kind of be lined up with the Dollar Tree sidewalk and the Tractor Supply property. One thing I would bring up, and it's not a zoning issue, it's more of a site plan, and it'll be addressed when we bring the site plan through, but sidewalks aren't meant to be driven on. And so if we made the sidewalk go all the way through where it wasn't protected by the building, and it's just a sidewalk in the middle of a parking lot that people drive on, sidewalks have a tendency to break up and crack and fail when there's a lot of vehicular traffic on them. So I would think what I've seen in my career is you do the sidewalk where it's protected by a building, and then to continue that pedestrian connectivity, you can do striping, you can do, there's several things you can do, but a sidewalk isn't always the best, but we will do that pedestrian connectivity also. And so we know we have the zoning we have, and we've been developing through the years, and then Dollar Tree came, and then Tractor Supply came, and we were trying, you know, we're developers and we have vacant land. We've been trying to create more retail synergy and interest in that gap between Dollar Tree and Tractor Supply. And then here comes along Chick-fil-A, and they wanted to go like in the middle of our parking lot, which is highly unusual. You know, they always want to normally they'd want to go up along 165. We didn't have any room left up there because of the wetland. And so if we were to have developed more, and this is the point we made at the Planning Commission, if we did all retail sales tax uses in between Dollar Tree and Tractor Supply, there's standards in the industry as to how much top line sales retail establishments do in general. But when Chick-fil-A comes in, they generate about 3 times the sales tax as what if we built something in between Dollar Tree and Tractor Supply. And so we thought, hey, that's great. And it's great for the city, it's great for the community, and it's really, it's not technically fulfilling our technical compliance with the sales tax percentages, but we feel we're really over delivering on the total sales tax coming to the city because of Chick-fil-A. And now that Chick-fil-A is where they are, and I'm sure everybody's gone through for a chicken sandwich at some point here, but where they're located now, there's no field of parking to the west. If you were to draw a line straight down from the west side of Dollar Tree to Tractor Supply, and so there's nowhere to park, and so you couldn't do a traditional retail line up there. So we started saying, well, let's do a flex building. It's 30,000 feet. I would say most of our users will have a sales tax component, but these flex buildings, you can't really pre-lease them. And so we have to build it and then lease it out. And I just didn't want to hit a dead end where I've got another great user that would come in, but he couldn't come in because of this sales tax requirement. And the other thing that we feel is by creating the employment we're going to put in there. I just thought about this morning, Scarlett, but you can have mixed use zoning for a whole piece of property, or within a project you can have a mix of uses. And so this would be a mix of uses, and I feel like the diversity it brings to the different services that are required and wanted by the community will create employment here, and the employment and their customers will come to the shopping center and they'll shop at Macy's, they'll go to Chick-fil-A, they'll go, and so I think it'll raise the sales of the overall project. So that's why we're before you today. And we went to the Planning Commission, and their main concern was not zoning the wetland portion this same thing, which we've agreed to. And I think I've addressed the different topics that came up, but I'm certainly happy to answer any further questions, Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Any questions for Kevin?
I'm curious. My name is Brent Speth. I'm on the council. I'm curious, is this building a 10,000 square foot footprint with 3 stories, or is it a 30,000 square foot footprint?
30,000 ground floor.
So, yeah, that makes a better access for patrons, for sure.
Yep.
How many units are you looking to put in this 30,000 foot building?
We don't know. You build it as you build it as a shell, and then as you lease it internally, the words we use in our industry are we demise each space off within the 30,000 footprint as you lease it. And so we don't want to guess where to put the bathrooms in, because I've been doing this 45 years and you always guess wrong. So we're gonna stub in everything and have total flexibility to demise off the spaces as we lease them.
Is your anticipation that you will have multiple exterior accesses to this building, and
Yes.
or is it going to be interior access?
No. Ryan, do you have a kind of the conceptual site plan we gave you, or?
I can find it. You can share. I have it so you can share if you have it, but I can find it.
My
So
IT department, my IT department is here, my son Kendall, so he'll.
It's always nice to have an IT department on hand.
I know the only
In
one
the
better
family.
than my son Kendall are my grandkids. They're each generation's better on the computer. So Kendall, you can share.
Okay, yeah, I'll pull it up.
So
But yeah,
this
there's going to be access from the north and from the south. And I think a lot of the users, we're probably going to split the building east to west on the 50-yard line of the building, but there'll be some larger users that'll go all the way through. But there'll be storefront entrances on both the north and the south side.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's take a few minutes to discuss it amongst ourselves, and we can also.
Can you see this? I'm sorry to interrupt, but here's the overall site plan. You can see how Chick-fil-A, and then this is our building footprint with the parking and access that goes around it. And on both the north side and the south side, there's going to be storefronts. I think it's about every 25 feet.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take comments from those who've come to speak on this. Darcy, if you want to come state your name for the record.
Darcy Reese, Providence citizen. I like that we have the Macy's shopping complex in Providence. I'm a customer of several businesses. I have a safety concern with the Macy's shopping complex. As a pedestrian, how do I safely walk from Macy's parking lot area to the USU Community Credit Union, then back to Macy's, and then back to my parked car? There are no raised sidewalks. There is a very narrow road from the car wash to the credit union. I think that it's unreasonable to expect customers to drive 50 to 100 yards to access businesses inside the shopping complex. It should have been designed for safe pedestrian access. I am hoping that the property owner will take my concerns back to his engineering team and will explore what can be done to make this shopping complex safe for pedestrians to walk from business to business. I'd like to see a raised sidewalk running north to south. One thing that I'd like to point out is that a boardwalk could be put through the wetland area. This would allow some room for pedestrians to walk through the narrow road. I'd also like to make sure that there is pedestrian access from Tractor Supply Store to the Sparsa, which he's addressed, and then to the shared pathway from Zollinger's Park that is adequately incorporated into this design that I did not see on his design. I am against the rezone because I feel like increased traffic into a shopping complex that is currently unsafe. I would like to urge my elected council members to only pass the rezone if there are conditions tied to it that establish safe pedestrian access through the whole shopping complex.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who came to speak on this item? Okay. Any discussion amongst the council?
I have another concern about the tax generation. I know during this legislative session, they've been talking a lot about property tax adjustments between the residential and the business. And if the state proceeds on that course, we're going to have to be very cognizant of our sales tax generating properties because we need a balanced revenue stream. So that is a concern that I have because the state is considering different options that would affect the balance of our revenue.
I was also going to express concern of giving up the commercial highway district zone. I was sitting, this brings back memories of sitting on the planning commission 17, 18 years ago. I think I was pregnant with my fourth baby who turned 16 next week. And giving up, banks coming in wanting property and other places. And at that time we needed banks because we were depositing our checks at banks. But now we do it all so much virtually that had we given up the land for non-producing revenue businesses, then we wouldn't have Chick-fil-A, or these other things that are bringing tax revenue to Providence. So it's a big decision, actually.
I recognize both sides. I recognize that we do not want to give up sales tax. I recognize that this property has been stayed off a long time trying to find those tax revenue generating businesses. And we have seen some folly in the area south of Macy's trying to get tax revenue generating business. It's been hard to get them into that building in that area. And so hence my question as to the access that would be provided to this building, the number of doors and so forth, because I think of the old Macy's complex in Logan that has been reasonably successful in finding sales tax generating businesses. Well, there's some that probably don't generate as much as others, but there are some businesses that have come in the smaller spaces of the larger complex that have been sales tax generating and done remarkable well. I think of Domino's Pizza, South Fork Hardware, and some of the others that have gone in there, Old Grist Mill and others. And so there's a Great Harvest. I can't remember. Grist Mill. Anyway, so I see both sides. I hate to give up sales tax. Now, coming to Darcy's comments. Realizing that the property is owned pretty much by the same developer all the way through. And I recognize that to walk from one point to another is important. In some areas, I don't know how you would modify with a raised sidewalk. And then I think of the Fourth North complex where UPS is and some of those other places. And boy, it's a pedestrian nightmare to get through to those buildings, and parking everywhere and people driving everywhere. And but there again, the complexity of some of the issues of sidewalk become an issue. But there are some places that we do need better sidewalk for sure. But I'm not sure we can go in and revamp the whole area. But we can look forward to especially connectivity with the trail coming down from Zollinger Park and into that area. That's a better connectivity. So it is a tough one to think about and to discuss. And I'm listening to my councilman, and I'd like to hear everybody's input on this because I'm not sure I've made up my mind one way or the other.
Please, Scott.
So I've looked at this over and over again. I do not want to give up tax revenue or potential tax revenue. AmSource decided to put Chick-fil-A in the location it was put. Chick-fil-A, of course, they're the ones that pushed for it. I guarantee it. I'm not trying to blame AmSource for that. They knew once Chick-fil-A was going in, they knew they would have problems with that lot behind it. They knew that going into that. Looking at his map that he had that was up for a moment of where the building's going to be, that's not quite where I thought it was going to be. I think as long as there's a passageway there, they're still going to be able to generate revenue if there's tax revenue businesses there. As far as the walkway, I've experienced the same. When I have my car at Big O, or not Big O, Discount Tire, and I go, I'm going to go, well, my wife's not looking, and go buy a chocolate-covered apple fritter at Macy's, I have to walk that road. And it would be nice to have something through there. So I acknowledge what you had to say. I've had to walk that road several times and thought, this was not thought out for pedestrians. So I would like to see something there too. I'm with you on that. The idea of like a wood boardwalk, I see that at the park by Blackhawk, that park over there. I've seen that boardwalk that they have there. there may be a solution there. That would be, anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's something to look into. I'll be honest, Brent, I've ran businesses. In fact, I was the old Macy's grocery store. I was the store manager there, and we had the little businesses along there, and they can develop some pretty good revenue there. So I'll be honest, I'm leaning against it. That's my view right now. Either against it or I'm having a hard time saying yes to something that doesn't do what that property was intended to do for the city. That's my view on it.
Yeah. Well, and as far as pedestrian flow, there's also traffic flow issues. Like when I pull in, I'm like, do I pull through the gas station? I mean, it's there's just some major flow issues in the parking lot. But that doesn't have anything really to do with the rezone. So, David?
Yeah, traffic flow. I too have walked that road multiple times. And you kind of get off in the weeds a little bit because there's cars coming through both ways and scared that something's going to not see you. But so yeah, some kind of path I think would be great if that could happen one way or the other. But I'm also hesitant to give up the tax resource that could potentially one day provide, whatever that looks like. I'm not sure I've made up my mind.
So can I make one more comment?
Please.
So if they went ahead, I mean, right now the idea is they build the shell and see how it goes. What if they built the shell to see how it goes and seeing if retailers are interested? And then if not, it could be revisited.
Or could it ever, piggybacking on what you said, Scott, could we ever request of the developer that a percentage of the new building is retail?
Scarlett,
And
you want to
I know
address
we
any
don't
of
have a
this?
zone for that.
Yeah, that's kind
However,
can't-
it's
yeah.
not, as the rezone, it's a condition of the rezone. Is that possible?
I honestly would have to check with our attorney. Generally, we have to follow the ordinances that are established under the existing zone. We could put forth a amendment to the code to create a hybrid zone, I guess, but that would have to come. I have to talk to the attorney to make sure on what we could require at a rezone. No, with mixed use, you, excuse me, mixed use has to have the residential component. So they'd have to figure out how to have a little bit of residential.
So Scarlett, that would, if I understand correctly, within that 30,000 square feet, they'd only be allowed 3,600 approximately as non-tax generating, correct? 12%?
Yes, if you
About
were
36, okay.
within the,
100.
yeah,
Okay, that's good to know.
in the commercial highway, if you stayed in the commercial highway.
Janelle, did you have a question?
Well, I had two comments. One, the idea of coming up with a legal description and zoning half of a parcel, one zone, and half of it another parcel. We had that on 300 South. That was proposed by a different developer, that they wanted two zones on the same property, which I feel like is like a cart and a horse problem. If you want to have two parcels with two zones, you got to subdivide it first. In my opinion. And then I had a question about a percentage of something, but I can't remember what it was, so.
Any other questions or comments, or I'll entertain a motion. We can all stew over it.
Oh, this is my question. Are rezones usually done on raw ground? Could it be done to rezone it like Scott suggested? Build it as commercial highway, And if the developer is having trouble getting tenants, come back for a rezone at that time.
If you watch Logan's Planning Commission and their zones, they do quite a few where they have an existing zone, they have buildings in that existing zone. They want to change the use inside those buildings, doesn't fit the zone. So they will do some of that. It doesn't have to be raw ground. It could be ground with buildings on it. If there were, I mean, that's one of the things that the state kind of encourages, is that some of these big box buildings that are no longer viable in some areas, in some of the great big cities, that they consider turning those into living units. And so that would probably require zone change. Oftentimes that requires a zone change. So yeah, it's fairly common, not around here a lot because we don't generally have that kind of change in use, but it certainly could happen. It's not totally uncommon.
Yeah, the old Borden's plant that went from manufacturing to residential.
Right.
Yeah, so
Am I allowed to address any of the review? I'm not allowed to respond to the discussion amongst yourself.
Well, it's nice for us to be able to discuss amongst ourselves, but if you'd like to put some input in at this time, you're welcome to.
Okay. Our master plan, as I said before, and Kendall, I don't know if you can bring that plan up that showed the 8,000 feet between Tractor Supply and we could build about 8,000 square feet if Chick-fil-A was not there, from Dollar Tree down to the.
Is this the one you're looking for?
No,
no.
No, that's the actual.
this is what we plan on doing, but Kendall will find it. And the average retail sales that are generated in small retail shops is 200 square feet, $200 per square foot per year. So that means if we fully lease that 8,000 feet, it would do about $1.6 million. And the Chick-fil-A is going to do triple that number. Here's
I think
Here's
it would be nice I mean, I understand that Chick-fil-A is your selling point, but that set aside, because that deal's already done. But speaking strictly of this piece of property.
right. And we've been trying to find users. We didn't buy this land just to sit on a vacant piece of land in the middle of the project. We've actively been trying to lease it to retail, and we've had no success because it doesn't lay out, and the parking lot is not, we can't do a traditional thing. So my hope was that, I remember when I came and met with Alma, that was the mayor, he was so excited to get a grocery store in your city, he couldn't even stand it. And so I feel like we've come in, we've done this great project, and I would just appreciate if there's going to be sales tax users in there. This is going to be a $5 million investment. And I just wanted to broaden the scope of the tenants we can do. We're going to bring in a lot more property tax because we're building a 30,000 foot new building. Put that other thing back up, Kendall. And I honestly believe that the employment that is going to and the customers of this 30,000 foot building will in fact raise the sales tax of the entire center. And what happens in the shopping center business is when you lease to any one category of retailer, they put on us as the developer a restriction. They don't let us lease to any of their competitors. And so once you check a category off your leasing list, this is where it shows all the entrances and the storefronts.
We're showing 3,000.
Right, and see, this is where the entrances and all that's going to be. So anyway, we've got a tremendous amount that we've invested in this project. I told the city when we got this approved in the very beginning that we're not what's called a merchant developer. We don't just build a project and flip it. We own it long term. I did the Lee's Market up on 1400 North a few years before this project, and we still own that also. So it's just, if you don't want a building there at all, we can just keep hoping somebody drops out of the sky and says, I want to put my retail business back there, but we can't come up with a layout that's a traditional sales tax or a retail layout. So
Thank you. And we do appreciate having Macy's in Providence. It is awesome.
thank you.
There are major traffic flow problems within the development that even, when you say if you don't want something there, well, of course we want your success and the success of the city, but with the traffic flow problems that are going on in that parking lot, there are some concerns with additional traffic in there.
That's a discussion for a different day. That's site plan and things like that. This is
Right.
This is strictly zoning.
But if one of your sales points is getting a building put in there, that's a reason not to. Go ahead.
Ryan,
We just leave it raw land then.
Ryan, can you
Incredible.
speak to the revenue source, the pros and cons of the different options?
Sure. So property tax is property tax, although the state legislature is trying to fiddle with it, it is generally seen as a stable tax to fund your government. It's your most stable of taxes is your property tax. So certainly creating more property tax and establishing that new growth base is a really helpful one because it establishes the baseline of what revenue will get, unless the legislature messes with it, and it will create problems for every entity other than the state, because a lot of us have some type of connection to property tax. So going from raw ground to property tax and a significant property tax, it is a fairly sizable win, because it sets the base. That's what the property tax will be, what funds our fire department or fire services, our police services, helps fund our parks and some of those. So that is great. Sales tax and the point of sale of sales tax, the calculation only has half population and half point of sale. So even if we draw in a great amount of point of sale, we get half of 1% of the actual sales tax generated. So at that point that comes in, it is seen as our volatile tax. It's important. We can utilize it, but the economy, it is much more subject to the whims of the economy, whether that's growth or fall in consumer spending. So sales tax is that it does add a buffer, and our problem is we don't have a vast space of sales tax. And if we don't have it here, where else can we attract it? And we've tried to be very broad on the sales tax classifications. So that's why we want sales taxes. It helps to fund the ebbs and flows of the government. And as the sales tax is high, we can spend on a few more things. But when it reduces, we have to tighten our belt. And so it's not nearly as much of a stable tax at that point. but that goes with our population too. So if population rises, that grows our sales tax number. To his point, the good, better, best. Good is to have a property tax base. Better is to have property and sales, as long as there's some sales. So I think he's proposing better than what we have. Maybe not best. Best is a large sales tax producing, which, you know, with Chick-fil-A, it is a large sales tax producing. Our highest sales tax in the city is generated from Alder Square, between Macy's and Chick-fil-A and the other restaurants that are there. Our largest sales tax producing is from this development. So that is certainly a plus. Do we think and say, hey, you know, what sales tax business could we get there? It has no frontage. The problem, and when we've approved, the city and that has approved the placement. They proposed it. We approved it. The placement of Chick-fil-A. So is it tied into this one? Not directly, but kind of, because it covers up its frontage. You probably won't be able to see this building or in the names of the building from the highway. It's going to be set back behind Chick-fil-A, so it won't have that visible highway frontage that a lot of sales tax wants. Can they do it? Could we rezone it? Yeah, that could be possible. But the tax side really pushes a lot of the ebb and flow of the government. Does that kind of answer the tax spot question? I don't know that I've answered your question specifically. I've tried, but give me any more detail and I'll try to feed a little bit better.
No, I think that's good perspective. I think that gives good perspective.
So I'm a little ignorant here. Property tax, if you put a building on it, property tax goes up, obviously.
Absolutely.
The difference between, as he put it, $200 per square foot per year, that's total tax, right? Sales tax.
So I think he's talking about cost of building. And so if you have a $5 million building,
that's what he was referring to.
And our property tax on a $5 million building, let's say it's a, 0 to 5 million. Let me see if I have this right. So that's probably a $5,000 property tax each year, and it's a reoccurring, regardless of sales. You have a basis in property tax. It's your sure bet, so you don't want to discount that one.
Right.
But it's like you said, it's a good, better, best. This is better than what we have on raw ground. Is it best? Maybe not.
On my storage sheds, my property tax exceeded $10,000 on 20,000 square feet.
And I'd have to go back and calculate now. Is that total tax or just city
was
tax?
Property tax.
I know, but is that total property tax because this is just the city's portion. You would also have the school district's portion. You'd have
total property tax.
Yeah,
yes.
This is the amount of
City's
just
portion.
city portion.
I see. Okay.
But it would also bring in property tax for the schools, for the
Right.
all the other entities that have property tax. I just looked at our particular rate.
All right. Thank you,
So,
Ron. Thank
But
you.
yes, you're right. His property tax would be much higher than that. Ours is just a small portion of that.
So I'm trying to balance that portion, property tax, with a $5 million building there, versus potential sales tax. I'm an old retailer, so I look at that location. I recognize it's not ideal for retailers. It would have to be something that can draw people through a lot of extra. And so I recognize there's some challenges with that. And so I'm not trying to discount that. I'm just trying to think through this and make sure that in the long run, I'm not going to make the wrong decision for Providence City.
And I think Ryan, do you have, whenever we did, I think Tractor Supply was the most recent building we did after the Dollar Tree. I want to say, and I could be wrong on this, I want to say it's almost 10 years. And we've been trying to, some of it's a depth of market issue. And some of it's these restrictions. Somebody comes and, you know, if you do a deal with McDonald's, you can't do Wendy's or any other hamburger thing. So we have tried, that's the business we're in, is to develop real estate.
Okay, Scarlett has her hand up to talk.
I just wanted to ask when Ryan was talking about, is this on still? Okay. When you were talking about property taxes, if it's a commercial business and they improve the interior of that, isn't there also personal property tax that comes into play?
Yep.
Regardless of what type of business it is, with certain improvements within it?
That is correct. There is so any of the asset built, so whether that's personal property inside the building, whether that's the building, at this point I just addressed the actual shell because that's what I knew. But yes, as new business comes in, they bring in their fixtures, and those fixtures now become subject to property tax. So all of those things as the development finishes that, that would step up the property tax each time that's done. So yes, good point.
So Scarlett, I have a question for you. So if we were to approve a rezone contingent, is there a way to have it contingent upon improvement of traffic flow and pedestrian flow? Like, is there a way to tie that to a rezone?
That's an attorney question. I don't know how much because this is its own piece of, well, it's its own parcel.
It's a discretionary decision. It
It's a discretionary decision. Possibly, definitely, we've improved our commercial site plan ordinance over the years. So we talk about pedestrian flow in that. But how far outside of this parcel we can extend that, I'm not sure as part of the rezone. But
Okay.
if the developer wanted to
Yeah, because to me, that's almost enough
feel like
bait
doing,
for the rezone, because that parking lot is such a mess.
Now, if
Yeah,
you-
I would commit. I think you're right. I don't know if you can see all my gray hair, but I have been doing this 45 years, and you can't. And I'm not an attorney, but you know, you couldn't do an off-site requirement. This is just a zoning hearing for this one piece. We are going to probably plat this. We're going to plat it into the developable land and plat it in the wetland land. And the plat process, and I'm telling on myself here, but the plat process will give you another shot at this connectivity. And we will, I give you my commitment that we will look at this pedestrian safety through the whole center, because it can be a liability for us. I own a lot of shopping, and you know, we get sued all the time because of a slip and fall or something wasn't safe. And so we want to be good citizens, and so I'll commit to you that I'll look at it. I'll be honest with you too. I really don't want to put a boardwalk through the wetland. That's when I've seen that through the years, kids jump off and people throw trash in the wetland because you're inviting people to walk through. And I would be hesitant to do that, but all the other pedestrian connectivities and vehicular, you know, I give you my word. And if you want to make it, but those are addressed when we come through with our site plan, which we plan to be ready with that, right away.
Okay, let's go ahead and have another question.
Another question. So, in your mind, and I know we can't commit to what goes inside the building, but at this point in time, in your mind, do you have some specific idea of what would be a non sales tax producing part of the building as compared to a sales tax producing portion? And my second question, will it be fire sprinklered?
It will be fire sprinklered. Yes, it will.
Okay.
We're gonna have 24-foot clear height. One thing you see a lot of uses in these kind of buildings is, and again, coming back to the sense of community and having Alder Square be kind of a destination for your community. A lot of times, it'll be gymnastics place. It'll be a dance, for the dance studio. I went to my grandson's volleyball game the other day, and it was in one of these kind of buildings because we're going to build the inside will be 24-foot clear height to the ceiling, and but all of those things they're usually membership based. I can't commit that they all will be, but that seems to be their business plan. And memberships are subject to sales tax. But if somebody comes and they do it a different way, they may not. But wherever I've had a shopping center, and I'm sure your community, these dance classes and gymnastics and things like that, it brings the moms and the kids and the dads, and it brings all kinds of traffic to the center. And that's why I say it will. Hey, how was your dance class? Do you want some chicken nuggets that Chick-fil-A will drive through on the way home? So I think it's quite synergistic, and I wouldn't minimize that personal property tax on. We would never build 30,000. You can't fit 30,000 of retail and park it on this piece of property, but this is probably 3 times the square footage that we could otherwise fit, and that will help with property taxes and personal property taxes on all the fixtures and equipment.
Thank you.
Just one quick question, Kevin, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have, you've been trying to lease this spot for some time, it sounds like. Do you have non-tax generating businesses that have talked to you about it?
What one of the main ones, Scarlett already alluded to, banks. But even the banks, when we've come in and we've made a deal with some of like Chase Bank, I think is out on the corner. Well, they deed restrict it. We can't do another bank in the whole project. So I can't do it. I just thought of another use that goes in these kind of buildings. It might be like the State Farm insurance guy. They're not. It could be a real estate brokerage office. I see a lot of those things, and they would generate traffic, but they don't generate sales tax.
Right.
Those are some of the things that are coming to mind. It could be a financial, like a stock brokerage, TD Ameritrade or somebody like that. But all these, in my opinion, help round out the center to more services for the community. And as they gather there, with the amount of square footage we're putting there, it's going to lift not only going to generate more property tax and personal property tax, but I think it'll lift the sales of the entire center just because we have more people coming to the center.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Anyone ready to make a motion, Brent?
I'd like to make a motion after listening to all the discussion that And I've known this property sit for a long, long, long time and produced very little for the city. And I know AmSource has worked and has lots on the property yet to be developed. And my feelings are that I would like to make a motion that we approve this rezone with the idea that they, as the developer said, Kevin, that they would take a look at with our city at reworking pedestrian traffic through the development and make it a more pedestrian friendly, protect the pedestrians as he has indicated. And so I would like to approve, make a motion that we approve the rezone.
I like the idea of that, but I feel like it might be more prudent to table it and make sure we can even put that condition on after consulting our attorney. But that's just my feeling. I don't want to put a condition on that we can't actually
Probably a good move.
implement.
I don't think you
Input.
can. That's called conditional zoning, and you can't, it's not legal. But again, you can absolutely address it when we come in for our site plan approval. That's the place to address it.
And that would happen with the staff, right?
Yep.
The planning commission, yeah.
And we come through the planning commission again.
The site plan isn't through planning commission.
No, it's
Yeah,
just
it-
staff.
No, it is planning commission, isn't it?
Scarlett?
Administrative Land Use
Administrative Land
Authority.
Oh, that's who does it.
So we
Okay.
do have a public meeting. It is done in a public meeting, but it's not the planning commission.
Okay.
And generally, it would be that site, so it wouldn't be the entire entirety of the square. We're looking at the specific site that's being constructed.
So I can see how we wouldn't be able to put conditions on other parcels. But the application doesn't have a legal description for just that east square. So I don't see why we couldn't put a condition on improving the walkability through the wetlands up by Quick Quack and the credit union. Because
So to
that's
rezone
part
the
of,
entire parcel that's being applied for,
that's the same parcel,
because currently the application was for all of it, that's what you're saying?
right? I mean, that's what the application is. Isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So have we got our ducks in a row? Do we need to have the parcel that we're going to rezone identified?
That's always helpful.
That would be, wouldn't it? Yeah, I mean, we're not going to make a zoning subdivision by making part of it commercial general and leaving the rest of it.
Commercial highway.
So
Commercial highway.
what we'd be doing is making a zoning subdivision. Same thing we ran into on 300 South. So maybe we ought to get our ducks in a row with the parcel we're going to rezone before we rezone it.
Well, part of the problem with some of that is when they come in with a subdivision plan, we have to know what zone they're in to make them design the subdivision to fit that zone. So it's kind of a chicken and an egg thing.
How different are commercial highway and commercial general when it comes
They're not
to
very
those things?
different at all. They're not very different.
When it comes to the subdivision? They're
When it comes to subdividing, they're not a lot different
Right.
in that.
But we're still
But
subdividing.
do we really want it subdivided? That was the recommendation from the planning commission. But if it's left as one parcel, then the walkability and the traffic flow can be addressed throughout the whole plot and not just that back portion.
Seems to me early on I heard a discussion that we were really focusing on that square. And maybe we are focusing on the whole thing.
Planning Commission focused in on that square. So that's where they were at and said, well, rather than rezone and open everything up, let's reduce the amount that's rezoned and keep it to a small footprint to rezone so that they didn't, that's where they focused. Yeah, so that's why it comes up at that. It's because that's where they started as a focus. So that focus came to you because that's where they ended their discussion. That doesn't mean you have to start or stop there, but yeah, just as a point,
Yeah.
you had a motion.
Right,
You
I know.
didn't-
I'm thinking the motion through.
Well, hold on. At that point,
I
So
might
didn't really
withdraw it.
have a second at this point, so either probably ought to rule whether the motion or draw out a second if you're going to do that,
Okay,
or fail the motion.
Is
and
there
then
someone
allow.
who would like to make a second? Okay, let's let that motion die,
It fails, yeah.
and we can entertain another motion. Which could include tabling it as well. I don't mean to have my back to you.
If we table it, what's our hopes?
Well, I mean, it sounds like it would be conditional zoning, which is not legal. So there's no point in even
Tabling it.
Yeah,
reflecting on that legal counsel, because I really don't know that we can put conditions on
Yeah.
other parcels.
well, and we've had over an hour discussion, so it's probably best to make a decision and not just kick it down the road unless there's something we're hoping.
I'll make a motion that we rezone it to commercial general with the condition that walkability is improved in that driveway through the wetlands.
And your motion is for the entire
For the entire parcel.
parcel, yeah. Otherwise, it would need to be subdivided.
Do you need to detail what you mean by improved as far as something specific?
What was that?
I know that there's guidelines as far as wetlands go, what you can put there. I think a boardwalk is allowed, but there needs to be a dedicated pedestrian path.
And then that'll come later, right?
With the site plan.
Yeah.
Is there someone who'd like to second that motion? I can second it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm going to give it an eye too.
Okay, so all in favor and none opposed. All right. So I guess if the mayor didn't leave the building, she can come back.
Thank you, council.
Best wishes.
Thank you so much for your consideration. Brian, do you need me for anything else, or should I sign off?
Kathleen,
Nope,
yeah.
I think you can sign off.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah. Okay, so we're done with
Yes.
this. Okay. That was a long discussion. It's cold out in the hallway. Let's go to item number 4. And it is 04-2026 Use Chart Code Amendment. City Council will review, discuss, and may take action on an ordinance regarding a code amending a change is to show fitness center, commercial gym as a permitted use in the commercial highway district zone. Planning Commission held a public hearing on February 11th and motioned to the City Council to approve the amendment. So
Can I address that first? Gonna be the first one. So I'm just gonna show you here. I believe that we had this as a permitted use. It is sales tax generating. So at that point, when we redid our code, we had it as permitted. You can see here. We added a column And if you look, there were 3 permits here. When we added a column, we still had 3 permits here, but we didn't extend the permit over. We asked if that was technicality enough that we could just put it in. The attorney said, no, that's enough of a difference that you ought to take it back to the council. We're bringing that back. It was permitted. It technically, we believe it should be permitted as a staff, and believe that we in the process it kind of got omitted as we added a column to the chart. So this is really an approval of a technicality, unless you would like to debate the for or against a fitness center. But that's why we bring it to you. The Planning Commission has held the public hearing, recommended it for approval, as does the staff. So anyway, anything else you want to add to that? No.
That sums it up nicely.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 04-2026, an ordinance amending the code to the Providence City Code regarding cities use chart, Title 10, zoning regulations, Chapter 6, use regulations, Section 1, use chart, GYM. What's that? Jim. Good. I'm used to acronyms. I'm thinking, what is that one? There's a lot of them, but I didn't know that one.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing.
We can move when we.
I love those kind of agenda items. Okay, so we don't have any agreements, contracts, or bid awards, so we will go to plans and other business. Item number 5, library fund to support the Cache County Library. Providence City Council will review, discuss, and may take action on a request for additional funds to support the Cache County Library. Library is seeking a donation from each city to support the library since the county is cutting their budget. So you've all seen the letter that came out. And so Janelle has been on the library board, and so she's going to do this.
Well, the letter that is attached to this agenda isn't the funding request, but it's pulled up here, that what the board drafted, the old board, I should say, since a new board has been appointed. And it was drafted based on how many people are using the library. So maybe if you scroll down
To the list of
list of cities. So for Providence, to make up the difference of the budget deficit, we're looking at $119,000, which the letter above stipulates that $100,000 of that value is already represented in the facilities that the city provides. So that the ask from the library board would be for the city to donate that extra $18,000, almost $19,000. And I feel like,
But that's based on if everyone else paid their share.
well,
Also.
that it's the ask, right?
Right.
That everyone pay their proportional share based on the number of patrons that they have, and what the budget deficit is based on what the county had approved. So that was something that the past library board discussed as an option. We also talked about where those funds would go to, who would collect those funds, how cities would make those payments, because the county wouldn't be billing us for that. That would be a donation. And it was determined that it could be done through the Cache Foundation, but it could also be done through the Friends of the Library, which is currently in the process of being developed as a 501c3 nonprofit to benefit the library. So that's the ask. Do you guys have questions? Thoughts, concerns?
Can I make one more comment?
I have a
to add
couple
to
of
that?
concerns.
Go ahead.
So one other comment is previous to the new lease, we had in our budget a 12,000, we have 16 and collect 48 from River Heights.
4,800.
Yeah, so we have a net of a 12,000 in the budget, that because of the new lease and how it worked, we didn't have that going. So we have that. So the difference between the 18 and the 14 we have, so we have the potential of reallocating budget to put the other 4 in, but the 12, the other 6 in, the 12 was in our current budget, but we haven't spent it because the lease
lease agreement. Yeah, that's right.
Just to put that pieces in the budget, so this differs from our budget of an additional 6. So
And the funding, we could put the 6 in the next fiscal year. It doesn't have to be added to this fiscal year. But that's all kind of contingent on the longevity of the library. So
The future of the library.
the future and the longevity of the library. I've discussed with Ryan about sending out a survey. We've gotten input from community members, council members, the mayor on different questions to ask the community. So that's one piece to consider if you want to know what the public's thoughts and feelings might be. But
we have it drafted. We're ready to go. We're waiting to maybe align it with a newsletter if you're still interested. But that would be the direction we would be currently heading, is to send that out in our social media and with the newsletter. If that's our plan. If you don't want us to, we won't. But that's kind of plan for that.
so would that go with like the newsletter that's drafted by Friday, this Friday? Yeah. No, I think we should send it out. I think we should get the public's thoughts on what they want to do with the library, because the county is determined to make a change, and what that change is. I served on the board for 6 years before this, and I think that the general sentiment was how do we broaden our scope? How do we broaden our reach? How do we make this a springboard into a countywide library system? But there's obviously difficulties with the political will of the county council and the executive's office to make that leap. But I think the more that we involve the public and we get their feelings and thoughts and opinions on it, it helps us make good decisions. And it may be that it will, as we unite four communities plus, I mean, bringing in board members from Richmond and Mendon, it might help solidify the vision and the direction of this library. Those are my thoughts.
Well, ultimately, the public is going to pay for this because it comes out of tax dollars. And so we want to hear what they have to say, what their thoughts are. So it's important that we gather that information and use it as we make decisions.
Yeah, I feel like this particular item would be better discussed once we get, I feel like it's a month premature. Like, I would like to see it brought back after we've got some feedback from the public that survey's ready to go out. It's hard to have this discussion without that information.
I agree that we don't have enough information. So,
yeah.
I have a question on these numbers. Is this an annual charge?
This is for the current budget year. So depending on what the county would opt to do with their next budget, or how the board directs the operation of the library and what funds they have to spend to run those operations. But this is a one-time ask. Is that what you're asking?
well,
But-
this is what it takes to run the library today.
Yes.
If there are no changes made in how the library is run and who staffs it and how we pay for, as a county, to pay for the books and all the things that are in there, it costs $350,000 if you put in there the $100,000 that we put toward it in a building, plus what the county puts cash to pay the staff and pay for all the other incidentals that happen as a result. The electronic books, are in there. And so this would be a yearly cost for everyone if there are no changes to how we run it.
And that's the column on second to the right, from the right.
Yellow one, yeah.
Well, the one on the yellow is for the rest of this year, the other half of this year, right?
No, it's a yearly cost.
Well, the yearly, isn't that 350?
That's correct. It would be the, to make up the 125,000.
Yeah.
So isn't this one to make up the half fiscal year, and this is the full fiscal year?
Yes.
Yeah. And so the column on the right, in the yellow, that when it gets down to our number that says $118,913, is that taking into consideration half a year of the lease?
They took the
building?
$100,000 out.
Well, because that's half a year.
No, it didn't split the lease.
Okay, so that's the whole lease
That includes the whole lease.
for the year.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
So every city on here that has an amount on there, that's based on the usage that their citizens are taking advantage of in the library. That's what their portion of it would be.
So looking at the top one, Amalga
Amalga.
had 7 patrons, and so they would want to charge them $380.
Correct.
So almost $55 a patron. Okay. Just want to make sure I understand what they're saying here. That's-
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't know if anyone else on this list is willing to support to these dollar figures.
I've gotten verbal commitment from the River Heights mayor that they are willing to pay their proportional share. They don't have that much budgeted, but they're willing to make up that budget shortfall in the next fiscal year. That's the only other city that I've heard from.
Okay.
But in all actuality, for any other city to contribute to this, because River Heights and Providence already have these as budget line items for this fiscal year, everyone else would either have to make a budget amendment or they'd have to make their contribution in the coming fiscal year. So in the letter above, it asks for, a timely response from the other cities, just so that we can kind of get an idea of people's willingness or interest. But I think they're going to have the same issues that we have. Like, they are going to want to know from their public what they are interested in doing, what they're willing to do. So it makes sense to me to table it.
So it's not
until
going to
we have
happen
more
overnight.
Information.
It's, there's still more that we need to do. But it's worth asking the citizens. And also we have to realize that there's more than one way to go about this. But we need citizen feedback at the very least.
We just need to make sure it's very clear to the citizens what they're getting involved in, because, like, for instance, College Ward is unincorporated.
So the county would
Petersboro's unincorporated.
pick up anything that was unincorporated. That would be the county's to contribute.
That needs to be made sure very clear.
Which the county knows that. I mean, as I've talked to council member Mark Hurd, who's sat on the library board, he acknowledged that like Amalga and Benson and College Ward, those would be a county responsibility to contribute that additional amount.
Are you here to speak for the library? Okay. Let's have you give us your spiel. Tell us your name.
My name is Joe Bates. We've talked.
Nice to meet
we
you. Yes,
talked-
we have
I
spoken.
talked to Mayor Alder on the phone several times last year about this very topic, encouraged her to poll all our taxpayers and find out their feelings on it. I'm glad that we're doing it. This is, to say it's pie in the sky would be generous. that any of these communities are actually going to kick in. Millville's mayor has said they have not 1 cent to give. I think George Daines, in appointing the 3 mayors to the board,
We're trying to
And-
make it 4. We're trying to get Nibley on here as well.
that would be good. And a couple of people who run small libraries is really pushing for people to get a good feeling about what it would take to take over the library and how the other towns have done it, what they might have to cut in terms of budget. He encouraged in his letter for one of the first things the new members to do would be to take a look at the budget and see how it could be maybe stretched for the rest of the year. That what changes could be made, and that leads directly back to running a small library that's paid for out of taxes in a town or a number of towns. What would you end up with? What would you be willing to cut to maintain a library? Because you're not going to come up with $350,000 to run a library. It's not going to happen. We're going to be lucky to come up with $150,000 to run a library. I don't know what it costs Mendon or Richmond to run their libraries, and I don't know how big they are.
That's what this board is going to do.
That was good, and I'm very encouraged that he changed the board in that direction to encourage the mayors to get together and discuss their mutual problems and what mutual funding they might be able to have for their citizens. Because I think Millville, River Heights had something in their budget, $5,000, a little less
Approximately
than
5.
that. As their portion of the 17,000 that for some reason was always getting paid to the county, even though Providence was providing the building, the utilities, the maintenance, the Wi-Fi and everything else. So there was money there that at least this year, Millville has contributed nothing and claims poverty, but maybe their citizens can convince them to come up with something. So I'm encouraged. I came tonight because I wanted to say I think the appointing a new board with this kind of power is a wonderful thing. I thank Janelle. She's been on the board for a long time and dedicated to it. And I think the board was trying to head in the right direction, but I think they were mainly focused on somehow convincing the county to keep going. And I frankly don't think that's going to happen.
It's not.
But thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your thoughts. Do we need a motion to table it? Okay.
I'll make a motion to table this until we get our survey back.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Whew. Moving right along. Okay, no study items. This is where we'll take public comment on something that was not on the agenda. So is there someone that has something they would like to say? State your name.
Darcy Reese. I'm Providence resident. State Road 238 is a Class B road. It begins on the north side of River Heights, runs through Providence, and ends on the south side of Millville. I understand that Cache County wants to turn over this Class B roads, or wants to turn over Class B roads to the cities that they run through. Utah Class B road funds are state-approved monies that go from highway user taxes that support the construction, maintenance, and repair of county roads. Class B roads are county roads under the jurisdiction and control of the county legislative body. Eligibility roads must be under county jurisdiction. I have concerns with Providence City taking over this road. How will the maintenance be funded? If State Road 238 is no longer under the jurisdiction and control of the county legislative body, will there be state funds appropriated to this road? If state funds are appropriated, are the funds enough to cover all of the expenses? If not, where will the additional funding come from? If Providence does take over this road, I have major concerns with Providence accepting the road that is outside of Providence City. I acknowledge that Providence City maintains our roads better than River Heights and Millville. But as a Providence citizen, I don't think that Providence should be overseeing maintenance on roads outside of Providence City limits. Could the county contract annually with Providence City to maintain State Road 238? If there are adequate state funds, then Providence could do the maintenance on the road. And then if there's not adequate funding, then Providence wouldn't renew the annual contract with the county. Can the county legally make Providence take the road section that runs through Providence? Who makes this decision on the road? City council, mayor, or city manager? And would you like to respond to my questions before my second item?
This isn't a forum where we
Okay.
respond to that,
Okay.
so do your
Nope.
second item.
Okay, so my second item is, and I'm glad to see, I need to put on my glasses to read it, that we are a multi-model city. Providence City has increased investments into sidewalks. We've created bike lanes. We've created an urban trail through Zollinger Park. I support these efforts. However, I think that we've overlooked an important piece of the puzzle. That is, how does a pedestrian or cyclist safely access a business? Are pedestrians forced into a very busy roadway? I think that there should be a safe pedestrian walkway. And when we have a large shopping complex, that we should have raised sidewalks to help pedestrians navigate large parking lots. Examples of raised sidewalks are Al Sporting Goods, allowing the pedestrian to walk in from Main Street. Another example of a raised sidewalk, it's about 50 West in Logan, and it goes from like Center Street to 100 North. And then it does allow traffic to go through. You just have to walk through where that traffic is, but it limits it so it's not just a huge area to negotiate. I think the Scarlet is pretty thorough and would love to see a requirement for safe pedestrian and cycle access when she reviews site plans. How can we make this happen? Is there a code that needs to be added? What is the next step to get safe access routes for all users into a business, apartment complexes, etc.? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public comment and go to staff reports.
All right. I would say we have had discussions. The county holds 238 hostage, and to be able to do anything on it at this point is very difficult. They want to force us to take it. It is a major corridor that connects the community on the east side. To have it parsed out and closed in any spot would be unfortunate. So I have visited with the county executive to try to find, our last county executive wasn't willing to do anything but all or none, to divide it out. We do need to have a corridor, just as Wolfpack Way in the north has been funded by huge volumes, by millions of dollars from the county COG and the county CMPO, because of the county's unwillingness to do any additional maintenance or construction or anything on 238. It has become difficult. So we are trying to find some solution in that manner. What that looks like, we don't know yet. Where that might go, we don't know yet. Ownership of that, we're certainly delving into possibilities. Whether it is under the whether it's a B road or a C road, given to the cities and have a discussion there. There is money for C road, so that's a draft in progress that is potentially a very long way out of what that has been. It's been where it's at for a long time and where it could go. We've been told we can't put roundabouts on it. We can't put stop signs. We can't make any development. We've stepped on a few toes, even adding a crosswalk on 238. And so for our ability to be so handcuffed to be able to do anything to move that road forward with so much traffic on it is a very unfortunate one. So I do have that as was going to be part of my report. So I appreciate feedback. I don't know where stirs from her, but that certainly has been a point of consternation. So we are trying to find solutions. So Second East, I will report that the Second East sidewalk is under design. We are working to try to do that. We have that, and I have met, at least visited with several of the property owners along there, and intend to continue to visit with them. If you hear from any of them, please send them my way. I'm happy to sit down, make an appointment, sit down with them, and as the plan progresses, to be able to go over any particular property with any property owner along that. The sidewalk is from Second North to Second South on the east side of the street. So if there's any property owners that are interested, sitting down with me, I can get the engineer on the call with us. But anyway, if there's any there, but we are making progress. We have made a lot of progress with replacing sidewalks. We've mapped all of our sidewalks. We have, we know where the trip hazards are. We're working on fixing those larger than 2-inch trip hazards throughout the downtown area. So we're working on that, trying to connect various spots. When we had that larger than 2-inch, we couldn't cut. So we have upgraded a lot of our meters. We're still in the process of that. And as we update those, we have identified several leaks because we're reading in the winter. We've identified several leaks and several unintended uses of the water through the winter. And we project we've probably saved at least 30 to 40 million gallons so far. And as we continue, we expect to save a whole lot more. So to be able to see usage and consistent usage, uninterrupted usage, and be able to contact those and say, hey, we have some uninterrupted usage on your meter. Some people didn't even know they had a leak, and we were the first to make that known to them. The nice thing about having the read through the winter is that we can identify and separate yard usage, sprinkler secondary usage from it. And that's why we can identify so much better the leaks in the winter, because we don't have that. Fiber is still doing well. We are continuing to have subscriptions, making progress there. X-Mission has let me know that they're excited to market out to those that haven't signed up, and to be able to see if they can't. And Advanced Stream is also gonna do that. So you'll see in the next month or two a step up in those two ISPs, particularly to be able to see if they can't drive that. And as they do, that helps to fund the infrastructure we've spent. And so anyway, we are making progress on that. So things are going well there. Things are going well in the garbage. As we talk to other cities, the value that we're gaining there, both in building an asset, being able to save rates, is truly a great piece of the puzzle. So anyway, we're trying to work and make improvements in several spots. And as we do that, we're working to make the city better. So anyway, any questions you have as far as what you've heard, anything I can help and answer for any of you? Okay, Ty, do you have anything to add? Okay, Scarlett? I believe that is our staff report.
Before 8:30. Okay, thank you. That being said, we don't have any executive sessions to do, and so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?